HBO's Hard Knocks NFC East edition dropped this past week. I was a little late to the party. I will try to get these up a little bit quicker. I was just lazy. I mean, hit thumbs down for that. But the NFC East is going to cover, obviously, the NFC East. And what I liked about the first episode was the fact that they just jump right into mid-season. They don't waste any time with, the first couple weeks. It just jumps right into, for the Eagles at least, the Cowboys game, and then it covers the Bears game as well. As we remember, it is 2 losses. So let's discuss the good and the bad from that first episode if you are an Eagles fan. I think what jumped out to me, at least, from the episode is the fact that the vibes in the Cowboys room are extremely high. And that's not surprising considering they, in that episode, did win 2 straight games. But it just feels a little bit different when you hear their players talk compared to the Philadelphia Eagles. I think those are the 2 teams to focus on here because the Giants are really just focused on building in the Mike Kafka era, whatever that is, and just trying to save face a little bit in the division. And the Commanders, they know their season's over because of the Jaden Daniels injuries that have mounted up to the point where they just can't crawl their way back into it. But when you look at the 2 teams that are fighting for the NFC East right now, and one of them having just lost last night in the Dallas Cowboys, it does seem like there is just a difference in both facilities, which is frustrating. But for me, at least, when I watched that episode, a couple things jumped out to me in neon. Both of them had to do with Nick Sirianni, and one of them was the first quote, really, of the episode, which was he's talking to Brandon Graham, and they're talking about the struggles that they have had to go through and how it actually helped them last year win the Super Bowl, which made perfect sense. And it's one of the reasons why I never thought a 2023 Part 2 would happen. I thought, okay, a lot of these guys went through 2023. The coaching staff, a lot of them at least, including the head coach, went through 2023. They should know how to stop 2023 from happening again. The fact that they're openly talking about 2023 and saying, look, it happened, but it helped us be better. To me, at least, it's like they're not ignoring that elephant in the room. But then again, are they? Because the way they talked about it wasn't necessarily a let's make sure it doesn't happen again. It was if you listen to everybody, the sky's falling and blah, blah, blah. And that led me to think this is a team that lacks sheer accountability, which isn't all that surprising when you listen to a Nick Sirianni post-game presser and he goes, we're 8-4 right now and there's a lot of football left, because you essentially heard the same bullshit when 2023 happened. It was we're 10-2 right now, and the next week it was, we're 10-3 right now, and then 10-4 right now. And you're sitting there as a fan going, dude, if you can't see this, if you can't see the building on fire, if you were truly the dog sitting there sipping coffee going, this is fine, then I don't know if you're equipped to do this job. And when I heard him talk about 2023 and then followed up with, everybody thinks the sky is falling. It's well, have you watched the games? Okay, so that was one of the takeaways that I had. And I'll circle back to Nick Sirianni. It's going to be a Nick Sirianni sandwich a little. Well, there's going to be the 2 pieces of bread or Nick Sirianni. Horrible analogy. Hit thumbs down for that as well. The other one was the first fucking quote we got from Jalen Hurts was, keeping the main thing. I mean, just give me a tall glass of bleach to down. I love watching Jalen Hurts play the game of football, and I was one of his staunchest critics for a while, but the man really won me over. He progressed in a way that I didn't think he was capable of. He became a quarterback, and I just had to eat crow on it and say, look, I am wrong. This guy's a really, really good football player, and he is still a really, really good football player. It's a little bit of a controversial take considering that he came off his worst game of the season against Chicago, but he's still a really, really good football player. I never need to hear that man talk again. And I'm not saying I don't need to hear him talk to his teammates, because I found that part of the episode very interesting. But in terms of an interview setting, I don't need to hear Jalen Hurts' fortune cookie wisdom, because that's exactly what it is. He spouts off in these quips that mean absolutely nothing, where you go dude, you are a robot, an absolute robot. Now, I want it on record because I think some people will be like, oh, here we go, another Jalen Hurts hater. I liked Carson Wentz. I really, really liked Carson Wentz. I wouldn't fuck with Carson Wentz. I wasn't going to hang out with Carson Wentz. I didn't think that me and Carson Wentz would have a good time. I don't think that me and Jalen Hurts would have a good time either. But I like the athletic angle of Jalen Hurts, the interview angle of Jalen Hurts. Please God, HBO, stop that. But what I found interesting though was when you saw him interact with his teammates in that Chicago game, and you saw the accountability. You saw him sit there and actually get pissed off. Because I'll tell you right now, I'm doing a TikTok live and I'm doing YouTube live during that game, and he is missing throws. He's fumbling. He had a rare interception. And I try to keep it in mind that this man doesn't turn the football over very often. So when it does happen, don't get too mad. And I didn't. But at the same time, it wasn't the turnovers that were driving me nuts. It was literally the 3 and outs that were driving me nuts. And he was a large part of it because he couldn't hit anybody. And I was getting pissed off. And I remember saying at one point, can I just see a little bit of emotion from you, please? Like a little bit. It'll just make me, at least as a fan, feel better knowing that you are pissed off about this. To see him actually pissed off in the moment. I knew he was, I guess, and this is a really stupid complaint, but to actually see that emotion from him and see him take accountability and be like, I got to do a better job. Like, and he actually meant it. It wasn't a bullshit Nick Sirianni thing of like, oh, we got to fix it. And you go like, dude, you ain't fixing shit. No, it was like a legitimate, like he was mad at himself. I appreciated that. The other thing was we've seen bullshit reports from hot take artists in this city say that Jalen Hurts doesn't talk to any of his wide receivers. Maybe that person meant that he doesn't talk to A.J. Brown. And I don't think that we got him talking to A.J. Brown in this episode. But what he did do was talk to Devontae Smith about the miscommunication on a key third down where he clearly missed Devontae Smith. And what he thought in that moment was Devontae Smith is going to dig into the ground. He gave him some hand signal. Devontae Smith had no idea what that meant. And they talked about it on the sidelines and figured it out, but they were still pissed off about the moment. I like the fact that obviously he communicated, because I think the big fear is that he is becoming a Carson Wentz 2.0, meaning that he doesn't talk to anybody, he can't be coached, all that. I don't believe that's happening. But at the same time, it is week 13, or it might be is it week 14? I don't know what week it is. But it is way too late in the year for he and Devontae Smith to be not on the same page and to be improvising hand signals. And it reminds me of that scene from Saving Silverman where it's like, dude, you're doing the Navy SEAL signals. I only know the Air Force signals. Like, it's week 13, 14. You guys should have an idea of what's going on, and that just tells you right there the dysfunction in the offense and how out of sync they are when the wide receiver and the quarterback aren't on the same page, because one is making up hand signals that the one other one's like, I don't know what the hell that means, and you saw it on a key third down. And then lastly, it is the Nick Sirianni interview with Al Michaels, which, by the way, Al Michaels, I love you so much, man. Please, God, retire. But Nick Sirianni has his head so far up his own ass that this man actually, dead serious, looked at Al Michaels and said, he is mentally tough. The lack of self-awareness from this guy, who actually believes that he is mentally tough. No, Nick, you're not mentally tough. The fact that you think you're mentally tough just tells me how out of tune with reality you are. Because what you are is a man-child who will go and talk a lot of bullshit and love to chirp when things are going great. You love letting the world know when things are going great, whether it's yelling at opposing fans, whether it's yelling at your own fans, whether it's, yelling about Frank Reich, whether it's being in the tunnel and screaming about like Kansas City and take that and how do you like that? All of that. You love doing that when things are going right. Everybody saw what happened in the Chicago game when things were going wrong. You weren't mentally tough. You were lost. You were an old man with dementia at the bus stop wondering, where am I? How did I get here? And what do I do next? You're not mentally tough. And the fact that he thinks that it like seeps down into his team, it doesn't. You're a fool. You're an absolute fucking fool if you think that football team looks at you and thinks there's a mentally tough coach. Because 2023 is, in fact, happening again. It's not in the same realm of the 2023 because, as I put it in a video before, they actually have a defensive coordinator that knows what he's doing. But this is a man that came unhinged in 2023 when Big Dom was told he couldn't be on the sidelines anymore. Screaming at everybody. I always bring up that Tim McManus article, and it was eye-opening. But this man actually thinks, like, he looks in the mirror and goes, yeah, I'm mentally tough. Yeah, I can handle this. No, dude, you're not. You have not a clue of how to fix this. And there isn't one fan in the city that believes you when you say, we're going to get it right. Because it's just too late. It's not too late in the season where you're not contending, because obviously you are. But just like 2023, when you spotted yourself a 10-1 record, everybody remembers what happens, including you. But hey, you're mentally tough. So those are my big takeaways. Not a whole lot else, honestly. I don't know. That was about it. All right, so please subscribe. Subscribing is cool. Hit thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Again, I'll try to put these out more close to the release of the actual episodes and not like wait this long stretch. Too much Elliott Shore Parks. Like far too much. 1 second of Elliott Shore Parks is too much. Him yucking it up with Jordan Mailata. My God. It's sad that he is credited media in this city. Anyway, yeah. All right, I'm going to go now.